all. Okay, you're gonna be brave, even though the rest of your group isn't here to help with moral support. All right, so let's start with the first question. What is justice for you guys? What did you
We
say?
chose the simplest definition we could find. So justice is defined as using just behavior or treatment.
Okay. Or treatment. Okay. And how does that relate to marketing?
Well, like if a company says that their product is going to be a certain way, they need to make their product that way. They don't need to cheat people and, say this is worth $50 when really it's, something they could make themselves for maybe $10.
Okay.
So just staying true to your word.
Okay. So it has something to do with honesty.
Yes, and integrity.
Okay. What about puffery?
Like making your product look better than it is.
Yeah, I mean, how many of you have seen the McDonald's commercial and the food that they show on McDonald's commercial looks absolutely wonderful and delicious? And is that what you get?
I mean, that's just common sense stuff. Like, that's somebody's actual job who comes in there and makes the food look way better. Like, that's an actual job. So as a consumer, you have to be aware of what's realistic and what isn't. And if you're not, then that's kind of your fault. My job is to sell you the product, and that's what we're doing.
Okay.
You believe that McDonald's burgers is that big and that whatever they say, that's kind of your fault.
All right. Is it ever okay to bluff in business?
I mean, in business, yeah, I guess. It is business, isn't it? I mean, you're trying to make money.
Have you seen a movie called Pretty Woman? No. Okay. How many of you have seen a movie called Pretty Woman? It's an old movie now. There's a scene in the movie where Richard Gere has this epiphany and he decides he's what they call an arbitrageur. He buys companies and then breaks them up because they're worth more separately than they are as a collective whole. And so he is going to buy this shipping company and break it up for its parts and sell it off. And he meets Julia Roberts and he has this, awakening that he doesn't build anything, he doesn't make anything. And so he decides that he's going to sort of reform and become a different person. And at the beginning of the movie, he tells the guy he's buying the company from, he meets with him, and this individual says, well, we've got contracts, we'll buy your shares back at a profit. And he says, no, you won't, and you don't have the contracts because I've got the Navy to cancel the contracts that you had to build these ships. And at the end, the guy says, what about our contract with the Navy? And he says, well, it wasn't dead, it was just delayed. And the guy says, so you were bluffing. You all remember, for those of you who've seen this movie, so you were bluffing. And Richard Gere says, yes, I was bluffing. And he says, well, you're good at it. And he says, well, that's my job. It's to lie. So is that acceptable in business, to bluff, to lie?
I mean, a lot of people do it. I don't know if it's necessarily acceptable.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's an important point. There's a difference between what people do and maybe what we should do. All right. So what were your three examples then?
One was, if your consumer believes you are just and fair and not fake, they'll respect you and buy your product.
Okay.
Kind of like what we said with our definition.
Okay. So truth, advertising. All right.
The second one was justice in marketing is highlighted by good return policy.
Okay. How so?
It all kind of has to do with customer service. People like to be treated a certain way, and if they're not, then they're definitely not going to go back to your store.
Okay. So should you always take everything back?
No, because there are always bad apples in the company. You know, maybe someone is having a bad day. You never know. But if someone takes it so far that you want to, talk to their supervisor, then I don't think that's a problem.
All right.
And we also looked at it from the point that a customer will be more comfortable getting something, even if they're not decided yet on that's the exact thing they want, if they know they have the option of bringing it back.
Okay. So Amazon has allowed for a lot of returns, right? They allow you to return almost anything. But if you return too much and nobody knows how much it is, what will Amazon do to you? Anybody know? They'll cut you off. They'll cut your Prime membership off, and you can't get back on. And they don't know how much is. They won't tell you how many returns is too many before they decide that you're not a customer that they want to keep. Is that ethical?
I think that's probably their business strategy, but I don't know if that would be considered ethical or not.
I don't think it's ethical, but I think on their part, at least they're giving you the chance first. But if they give you the option to do something and you abuse it, then they can step in and set that boundary. But at least among the other online retailers, Amazon seems to be the only one on there that's really giving you that option.
Right. Okay. And what was your third example?
How companies treat their competitors, whether they are knocking them down or not. For example, the T-Mobile and AT&T.
Okay. You think that they're an example of good competition or that they're unethical in that?
Unethical.
Which one? Both of them?
Our other partner actually came up with this idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it came from T-Mobile's point
I
where
think so,
yeah.
Okay.
I think his example was a dude who switched from I think he switched from T-Mobile to AT&T or vice versa. He's like the face of their phone company.
That's the guy that was actually,
Was it Sprint?
yeah, he was Verizon.
Okay.
And then wasn't he Verizon?
He was Sprint, wasn't he? And he switched to Verizon.
Okay, all right,
It was
yeah.
one or the other.
Okay.
So you think that's unethical or ethical?
Well, since he was like talking bad about the other company and trying to make them look bad.
And he, at one point in time, had taken money from the other company, so maybe
We think that that's unethical.
he should be loyal, brand loyal, maybe, okay?
It just
All right.
looks bad on the company's part. Like, your product should speak for itself, and if you have to say that it's better than someone else, then it just probably isn't.
Okay. What about comparisons for things like, in that vein, that are not generics, but are store brands? So for example, if you go into Walmart, what is Walmart's store label?
Great value.
Great value. So you can find all kinds of stuff that is the great value label that says compared to, for example, compared to the active ingredients in Listerine. Is that ethical? Because you're making a comparison to another company's products.
That might just be so you know, like, this is our brand of that, because it's not gonna have the same title like Listerine.
Right.
But, I mean, for college students, great value is great. It's cheaper.
Okay. They're not paying to market it the way they are for Listerine. Listerine has all kinds of advertisements on television. What's the newest Listerine product that they're advertising?
Those little squares.
Yeah, the little squares that you can, freshen your breath with. So, okay. That's, so if you are just doing a comparison, is there something qualitatively different in just saying this is compared to, as opposed to denigrating another company's products?
Yeah, I think that was our problem with the
Okay.
that was what we pointed out in the third point, where it's okay for a company to compete with another one, or for you in the marketplace to choose what your direct competitor is instead of, that's fine. But if you go to the point where instead of saying what you do best, you're talking about what they don't do or what they're bad about, then that's not happening.
Okay, all right. So you should make your argument and stand on your own merits without denigrating somebody else.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So maybe you shouldn't be a bully just because you have the economic power to do that. Okay, very good. Good job. Which group wants to go? Everybody gets to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we said justice is just behavior and treatment, objectivity, fairness, balance, and equality for everyone.
Objectivity, fairness, and equality.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So when you say objectivity, is there an aspect of justice that is more emotive? Or should it be purely rational?
Do you mean like emotional?
Yeah. One of the things that they talk about a lot now is emotional intelligence. I don't know what that means, by the way. But they start saying, I think there's sort of rational comprehensive thought and then there isn't. And I'm not sure that emotional, but is there an aspect of emotional intelligence to justice?
I think so, because there's like the law that is justice, but then there's like fairness and treating everyone with respect and equality. So I think so, especially in business when you're dealing with customers.
Okay, all right. So you said fairness. We talked about this idea a little bit before, and equality. Is fairness treating everybody exactly the same? I gave you the example of I'll treat you all the same. I'll give everybody in here an F. And nobody was taking me up on that offer. But I was treating you exactly the same. Exact equality. Equality of results in that instance. Is that fair?
I think, like, if you're dealing with customers, every customer is different and every situation is different.
Oh, okay.
But it's important to, like, ensure the same product and the same price. Like, you can't change that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is it that Walmart keeps their prices as low as they do? Are they getting, so for example, I think I told you all this before, Walmart is the largest seller of soap, they're the largest seller of textiles, they're the largest retailer of diamonds in the world now, the largest single retailer of diamonds in the world. Now, how is it that they keep their prices low? Well, they buy in bulk. So if you have the convenience store on the corner and you're gonna buy, stuff to stock your shelves, convenience stores have all kinds of stuff. Are they gonna get the same price discounts that Walmart gets? No, not at all. Why not?
Because they're buying smaller quantity, so they have to get their price per.
Okay, is that fair?
For the business, yeah.
Is it?
I think so. I feel like Walmart is buying millions and millions of dollars worth of product. So if you're only buying $1,000 worth of stuff, I don't think you should be eligible for those incentives. Because it's a bulk incentive.
So you think that as long as you were, if the convenience store, so for example, if I started a chain of convenience stores, and there are chains now, what's the big one in Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma City area that we have here, what's one of the big ones? On Q, yeah, they've got these, nice new gas stations that are popping up all over the place in convenience stores. And if I could get enough of those that I could pool and have my own maybe distribution network to them, I could get those volume discounts as well, is what you're saying.
I think so.
Okay. Just as long as you're not discriminating on the wrong reason, which is I just don't like you because of X, Y, and Z, because you're, not an American company or you're, whatever. BP, you've seen BP gas stations, right? What does BP stand for? British Petroleum. So they're obviously not an American company. So you couldn't discriminate on the basis that they're not, an American company, that they're British owned. All right. What were your examples? So.
The first example we have is companies like the FTC and SEC, who they have unfair competition and deceptive practice laws as well as consumer protection laws.
Okay, so we have an aspect of this that is legally based. Now, is the law an acceptable moral minimum? So we have this thing called the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, which makes sure that if you advertise that you don't lie. So, for example, one of the things that they have to do with drugs is they have to tell you what the major side effects are in their advertising. And do you really want to take some of them after you hear the major side effects? May cause kidney failure. That could be bad, wouldn't it? A lot of drugs that that's one of the major side effects. May cause kidney failure. Yeah, I'm thinking that's not necessarily a great thing. But so there's truth in advertising there. Is there ever an example where the law is not just?
My example was the EpiPen, how they raised the price on it. I mean, people that need to use it, obviously they're gonna need to buy it, and they raised the price on it, so obviously you're gonna spend the price of it. So
Okay.
it's definitely not worth $600 or whatever it is for however many you get. It was worth $50 before, but it's not worth $600 now.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
it is for your life, but I mean.
and we're a capitalist system, so the law didn't deal with that. The law failed because they should have said, no, you can't raise the price $600 for the EpiPen. Okay. All right. What's your other example?
Treating customers equally and like good customer service.
Okay. Good customer service. What one person considers good customer service, could that not meet up to somebody else's standards?
Yeah.
Okay. So there is an element of individuality there.
Kind of, and I think you like cater to the customer, but across the board, like if you're friendly and like willing to talk to them, I think everyone kind of respects that the same.
Okay. Is the customer always right?
No.
You're saying no. That was one of the law-like generalizations that they had for business and law, was that the customer is always right.
It's the slogan, but it's-
Southwest Airlines doesn't believe that.
They're smart.
Yeah. Southwest believes that maybe you're not right. And if you get really aggressive with the Southwest, I love Southwest Airlines, but if you get really aggressive with the Southwest, they will blackball you and you will not fly on Southwest. So I don't know. All right. Okay. Good job. Good deal. We have one more group to go. Is that right? Unfortunately, you don't get to opt out.
that justice is the morality to do what is right by being fair.
Okay. Again, fairness. All right. And what are your three examples?
Okay, so we have product quality.
Quality, okay.
Yes. Meeting customers' expectations.
Okay.
Like we talked about it before, when you go and buy a product and they say it's gonna remove all stain or it's gonna do something, but when you buy it and it's not doing anything, so this
Okay.
is not, this is lying.
We're thinking about,
Yeah.
we're thinking about like the example that you used about the fair,
Mhm.
how they move, because they know that their stuff is not gonna work, so they move around fair to fair.
Right. Yeah, like they claim that they've got stainless steel pans that are non-stick, right? And every stainless steel pan, the first time you use it, is gonna be non-stick, but after that, it starts to get scratches and that's what leads to sticking. And so, they're gone by the time. Go ahead.
I feel like we should be smarter because yesterday I went to Walmart to buy a stainless, a bean.
Okay.
And there's one that is $5 and there's one that is 20. So I figured that the $5 will only last for a week and it's gonna get, bad.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like they make it, a price range, for people that can buy it too, but still not.
Okay, so, do you think that the consumer has a responsibility to make that evaluation? That obviously price is a heuristic for quality, and so did you buy the $5 or the $20 pan? The $20. You went ahead and splurged for the $20 pan. Okay.
I close my
Okay, so you think that you should maybe be aware that if you have a $5 pan, it's not gonna last as long?
But there's also times that it's the other way around.
That the cheaper actually is better, maybe?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. What was your other examples?
We also have ad honesty.
Ad honesty.
Yeah, like when you, commercials or even in the radio, stuff like that, like, they make it sound better than it actually is.
Mhm.
Like, I was watching a YouTube video of, how they make everything on a commercial look all nice. Like, in a beer commercial, you know how they pour it into a glass or whatever,
Mhm.
and it looks all bubbly, so like that, but when you try to do it, you can't. Well, I saw how they make it. They actually put down soap in the beer to make it all pretty.
To make the head come up so that you have this nice, okay. One of the things that happens, one of the reasons that you probably can't get a nice foamy head on your beer is because if you wash your glasses with anything else, the oils in any of your other food leave a thin film on your glasses, and that makes it, that'll destroy the foaminess, the frothiness of the beer. So wash your glasses separately. There's my advice for the day on drinking beer. I started out as a lawyer, so I know a lot about drinking beer. It's one of lawyers' favorite activities. So, okay. What was your third example?
We also have customer service and how companies should treat their customers. Like when there's times that I've heard of where they'll buy one thing, like on the customer side, when they'll buy like one thing and it breaks or something like that, and it's like a year or so later, so they buy the same thing and then return the back one.
Okay.
That's bad, but on the other side, I've also had heard like where UPS, like I had a friend where a UPS stole their iPhone, but it was through Verizon, and they were good enough where they could actually get another one without having to buy another one.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it wasn't.
on the customer service, I worked in food service industry in my life, and I worked at a pizza delivery place. We have an online website. They get order. I've had customers who place their order online call me and tell me, "You messed up my order." I look it up. Well, no, we made it exactly as they placed it. They just messed up. And so I'm put in a position like, well, do we have to pay for their mistake? Now, typically, yes, that's what I've been told by, the owners to do. So that's what I do, but, I was always thinking, if enough people do this, we might have to start raising our prices if we're losing money over this, which
Oh,
would affect
okay,
everybody.
right.
So it's always kind of a fine line, like, give them what they want, but if, so many people start taking advantage of this, it could start being a detriment to everyone.
Right, yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to raise their price, they have to cover the cost of that, basically shrink, and that could affect ultimately everybody. You have to raise your prices to cover.
Is that
the cost of
justice
doing
for
that.
everyone?
But sometimes they do make a mistake, cause I bought pepperoni, pizza, pineapple, I got pineapple, Hawaiian,
In this specific example,
okay?
I'm saying they messed up in placing it online, like this.
Oh,
Saw
okay.
their pizza, I saw what they ordered. It was correct, what we made.
But they ordered it online and they missed
They
it.
thought they ordered something else.
Okay, all right.
But over the phone order different, cause you can't figure it out.
Okay,
And that's why it's so complicated.
all right. Okay, very good. And I think we got every group, is that right? All right, so we have one student who you joined late, so you need to stand up and introduce yourself and see if we can get a group that will take you. Everybody had to do this. Yes, everybody had to do this.
Hi everyone. My name is Tedzo. I originate from Botswana. It's in the southern part of Africa. I'm a sophomore. My major is strategic communication with a minor in marketing. And yeah.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
which group wants to have a member? You will, okay, very good. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, good deal. I appreciate that. So, I'm gonna lecture for about 15 minutes and then I'm gonna let you guys have the rest of the hour to finish. So I try not to make it so that you have to, because I know everybody's working adults and that it's difficult to meet. So I try to give you class time to finish these critical thinking challenges. So, we discussed your ideas about justice. Why should we study philosophy in a marketing class? I mean, what does philosophy have to do with marketing at all? And as some of you were leaving last time, I heard somebody say marketing and justice have nothing to do with each other. But philosophy as an activity attempts to answer three great questions, and these are important to marketing. They are the question of knowledge. What is it I can know and how can I know it? And when we talk about things like truth in advertising, that's not a trivial thing, because a lot of times what we think we know, maybe we don't, or maybe we don't communicate effectively. So for example, as we think about this, and philosophy allows us to think deeply about these things in the highest degree that you can get, even if you get a PhD in the subfield of marketing, or in the field of marketing, which I have, you get the PhD, right? It's not a doctor of marketing, it's a PhD, which means doctor of philosophy. So we need to think about these things, and one of the things that we think about is what is it we can know and how can we know it? What is it we can know as marketing scientists that we can prove? How can we make our products better? And again, this is not trivial. So what is this? What is that I'm touching here? What is this? You said, which is it? You said it was a desk, and then you said table. Really?
It's a table.
It's a table? What makes it a table? And not a desk?
That's generally a single person.
What?
That's maybe sometimes majority of the time single person, and then table
Okay.
is multiple people.
So a desk is for an individual, a table is for more people. You said desks have storage. All desks have storage? No? Do some tables have storage? Okay. So then why is this the table? It looks like one. Is it the purpose to which we put it that distinguishes it as a table as opposed to a desk? You said that desks are made for one person, these are made for multiple people. What about partners' desks? Anybody have heard of a partner's desk? It's a desk made for what? More than one person, right? So there are drawers on both sides of these desks. They were popular back at the turn of the 20th century. You'd go into business with somebody and you'd have a partner's desk. What is that? This is a chair? Are you sure? Can I stand on it? Sure. Does that make it a step stool? No? Okay. What about this? You think it's a podium? Why isn't it a desk? At one point in time, before somebody, got violent with it, I guess, it had storage under here. There were shelves. So why isn't it a desk? It's too high. There are bare desks that so you can stand up. So what it is we can know is not trivial. I mean, if we can't agree whether or not this is a desk or a table or something else, a platform, it is something that we really need to think about. And when we think about what it is we can prove as marketing scientists and how we can know what our research shows, these questions are really, really important. The second question is conduct or moral philosophy. What makes it just? What makes something right? And Socrates begins with this question in the first fully worked out system of philosophy as written down by Plato in a book called Republic that deals with these questions. What is it I can know? How can I know it? What is the most just form of society? And how should we govern ourselves? And obviously these relate because generally speaking, we want businesses to be ethical. And the law doesn't always necessarily cover every single thing. That we can't make a law for every single instance. And so we have to think about what it is that makes companies ethical. And people would say that they would rather do business with ethical and just companies. So the question of knowledge, the question of conduct, and the question of governance. And so we need to think about these things. And I don't think that we think about them enough in marketing. A lot of times we're business people, we're in a hurry, we've got to make a profit, we've got to get a return on our investment. Maybe we should think about these things more deeply. And so this is an opportunity to do that and think about what makes a good company. Why is it that we want to do business with companies like, what makes Tom's, for example, a company that a lot of ethicists have said is a good company? They donate a pair, a 1-for-1. Who else does that now? Who else have they rubbed off on? Anybody know? Anybody heard of a company called Bombas?
Yes.
What does Bombas sell?
They're like sandals.
No? Tom's sells kind of like sandals and shoes. What does Bombas sell? Socks. And they have a 1-for-1. They donate a pair of socks for every pair that's purchased. So, there are some challenges that we need to think about. And 2 of these sound correct, and the third one doesn't, but it's actually the most difficult to deal with. So there are challenges to ethics, and a lot of businesses make these arguments. A lot of companies make arguments based on these challenges, and so you need to be aware of what they are and be able to recognize those kinds of arguments and the problems with those kinds of arguments. And the oldest of these is subjectivism. Subjectivism is based on a philosophical concept called solipsism. And solipsism says the self is all one can know. And that's true, isn't it? We can never really know what it is to be somebody else. Truly. Can we? No. Based on the subjectivists say, because I can't really know anything other than my own experience, ethics is up to the individual. It's based on the individual, and what the individual believes is what is ethical. Now that does sound intuitively appealing, doesn't it? Because when we say things like justice and fairness, we all had some different ideas as we were talking about these concepts before. And if we think about things that are really, really difficult concepts, it seems intuitively appealing. So for example, as marketers, should we be allowed to bring into the marketplace products that maybe go against religion, religious teachings? Let's think about a product that is highly debated by churches. The morning after pill, which started out, it was originally called RU486. This drug company comes up with this pill that basically, if you get pregnant and you take it in enough time, it causes spontaneous abortion. Now, I asked people in this room about that question. I bet we would have a range of opinions on that. Everything from, I'm not going to ask you to tell me what your opinion is, but people have very strongly held opinions about this. Everything from, that's murder and should be outlawed because life begins at conception on one extreme, to women should be free to do with their body what they want at the other, right? And then there's positions in the middle there. Some people would say, well, I personally believe that abortion is morally wrong, but I don't believe that you should legislate that. I don't believe you should legislate morality. Others believe that you should legislate morality, but we should have laws about this. What about traditional birth control? Should you be allowed to take birth control? For a long time in this country, it was illegal in many states to market birth control. In 1965, in a case called Griswold versus Connecticut, the Supreme Court said that the state of Connecticut had a law that said it was illegal to possess, manufacture, promote, use, or distribute devices. And Griswold, who is a physician, and others took the state of Connecticut to court, and it went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court, in that decision, comes up with something in an opinion written by William O. Douglas, comes up with this idea that there's this concept, a constitutional right to privacy, and that women have a constitutional right to privacy, and what they discuss between themselves and their doctor and their spouse or their partner is within that zone of protected rights of privacy. Now, interestingly enough, The right to privacy is not mentioned, the word privacy is not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. The court says it's comes from the penumbra and emanations of that document. This led to a lot of things being marketed, that lots of churches, we have a company here, Hobby Lobby, who doesn't want to support healthcare insurance that allows women to take certain types of birth control. They opted out of sort of those requirements that were imposed under Obamacare, and that was upheld. So these are really difficult decisions, and so subjectivism seems intuitively appealing. I said I'd give you about 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop there for today. We'll finish this up on Thursday, and we'll move into marketing research, but I'm going to let you get with your groups and work on finishing and turning those critical thinking challenges into the Dropbox. And I will say, as long as you all have questions or you want to talk to me, if you want some guidance about making arguments or things like that, I'll go ahead and stop the broadcast for today, but I'll let you get in your groups and I'll come around and kind of check and see where you're at and if you have questions.